O'Reilly Factor is on tonight. Why won't the federal government investigate corruption seriously? It's becoming a big problem. And there may be a racial problem at Harvard between that school's star black studies professor and the president. We'll talk with Dr. Cornel West. Also upcoming, TV newswomen is calling some of them sexy, insulting, sexist, downright boorish. We'll have a debate. Caution, you're about to enter a no-spin zone. The Factor begins in 90 seconds.
Fox News Live, I'm Kieran Chetry. The Pentagon says there are no signs that any Marines survived a plane crash earlier today in Pakistan, but they still are not ruling out the chance. At least 7 Marines were on board a KC-130 refueling plane like this one when it crashed in Pakistan. One of the Marines killed was 23-year-old Brian Bertrand of Oregon. The plane crashed as it approached a military airfield in southwestern Pakistan. A lot of questions tonight as to why 7 high-ranking Taliban officials were set free by local Afghan officials before the U.S. had a chance to question them. One of those released was the ex-Taliban justice minister who created the repressive religious police. And there's more unrest in the Middle East as Hamas terrorists open fire in southern Israel, killing 4 Israeli soldiers. 2 of the Palestinian attackers were also killed. Israel says it believes that Palestinian President Yasser Arafat was behind the attacks and also behind an attempt to smuggle in 50 tons of weapons and explosives. A Utah judge says polygamist Tom Green could be prosecuted for child rape. Back in 1986, a then 37-year-old Green married a then 13-year-old girl. Though the statute of limitations on child rape is 4 years, police say they didn't know of the crime before 1999. We'll have another update for you coming up at the bottom of the hour.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Corruption in the federal government. That explosive topic is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. U.S. Attorney Mary Jo White is quitting her job here in New York. Ms. White was in charge of the Mark Rich Pardon investigation, the Hillary Clinton vote-buying probe, and the Senator Robert Torricelli alleged bribery situation. Some big cases, obviously. Former Attorney General Janet Reno also oversaw some big cases, the Chinese military funneling money to the DNC, the Wen-Ho Lee espionage case, the FBI file situation, and many more. Now, both Ms. Reno and Ms. White have one thing in common. Despite having their salaries paid by the American taxpayer, they flat out refuse to tell us anything about their vital investigations. Ms. Reno fled to Florida, no commenting all the way. And now Ms. White is refusing to answer any questions as well. Legally, these civil servants can address any issue other than secret grand jury testimony. Morally, both Reno and White have an obligation to inform the American people about corruption investigations. And indeed, both presidents, Clinton and Bush, should have ordered these women to be candid and honest with the public. That, of course, is a pipe dream. One of the worst things about America these days is that the federal government does not believe it is accountable to the people. There is a siege mentality about any hint of corruption, and the powerful do protect each other. No one I know in law enforcement seriously believes that Attorney General Ashcroft has any interest at all in getting to the bottom of the Mark Rich pardon given by President Clinton. The same thing is true with the Torricelli situation. No one in Washington believes the Senate Ethics Committee will do anything. Both Janet Reno and Mary Jo White understand that very well. They know, the less said the better, that if they actually told the American people what they know about corruption, they'd get into big trouble. The Enron situation is another tragic example. Here we have a major American corporation lying to their stockholders and to the press. We did a segment on this last night, and I received hundreds of letters saying that Americans who bought Enron stock were responsible and not the dishonest executives. That view is insane. Enron's accountants were constantly putting out misleading reports, and insider selling is not made public until months after it happens. Attorney General Ashcroft should be all over this situation. The FBI should be grilling the accountants and executives, and the U.S. Attorney in Houston should be preparing indictments right now. But Enron executives are close to Vice President Dick Cheney, and they still have power in Republican circles. So we'll see if anything will be done. The more corruption that is tolerated by the feds, the weaker the United States becomes. The Clinton administration was flat out corrupt, and now the Bush administration seems willing to keep silent on urgent matters. It's bad, and you should know it. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight, a race controversy at Harvard University. Dr. Cornel West and some other members of the Afro-American Studies Department at Harvard having some differences with President Lawrence Summers. The case has made national headlines, and Dr. West joins us now from Boston. First of all, I want to tell the audience, Doctor, that you are a stand-up guy. You've always been that. You've always come on the Factor and answered very difficult questions. And I want to get your point of view on this. The press is reporting that affirmative action is a difference between you and President Summers. Is that true?
Well, let me first say it's a blessing to be on the show, and congratulations again on your bestseller, though, brother.
All right.
But no, the important thing is this, is that presidents have a right to articulate their own vision, put forward their own arguments in relation to affirmative action, diversity, or what have you. It's just that there's a number of professors, not simply black, but white, Jewish, Italian, and so forth, who believe that excellence and diversity, high intellectual quality in diversity, ought to be indivisible, and they ought to be inseparable. And the question is, what was the vision of the president? Let's hear what the vision is, and we engage in a public conversation in terms of our agreements and disagreements.
All right. Now, if you were the president of Harvard, would you allow African Americans to have lower test scores and be admitted into Harvard?
I would not allow any student who was not of high quality to gain entree to Harvard or Yale or Princeton or Berkeley or Michigan or any high-quality place or the top-notch places. That's true for Howard, Morehouse, and Spelman as well. But it's not just a matter of test scores, as you know, though, Bill. That intelligence is not measured solely by test scores.
But how do you measure it when you have so many applicants trying to get into Harvard? But you can't possibly take each student and evaluate them on a cultural level, which is what it would take if you didn't use certain barometers like test scores, placement in class, and things like that.
Well, I mean, in a way, we've made a fetish of test scores. I mean, Harvard has 8,000 students who meet minimal qualifications. There's 18,000 who apply, but there's still only 1,800 slots. So
Right.
you've got a lot of different things. Now, you know and I know they start with alumni sons and daughters oftentimes. What is
That's
it, about
right.
35, 40%?
The big donors.
Alumni daughters. Well, both donors, but also for institutional continuity. And there's an argument to be made there, not always persuasive, but highly plausible at times. Then there's diversity when it comes to region. Students, white brothers from Idaho, right? Brown sisters from Arizona, they ought to be part and parcel
All right,
of a
let me ask you,
high-quality
would you
student
set
body.
aside a quota for African Americans?
No, not at all. I don't believe in quotas. Not at all.
One of the other things that the press reported that was of contention between you and President Summers was grade inflation. 50% of all the grades at Harvard are A's or A minuses. Now, I went to the Kennedy School at Harvard, and I think I got a B or a B plus, but I was a little slow.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, though, brother.
Anyway, Dr. Summers apparently said something to you about your grading system.
Oh, no, I agree that we've got to fight grade inflation. The problem has been that there has been some voices at Harvard who have highlighted black students as if black students are disproportionately shaping that situation. And we know grade inflation cuts across the board. Black students are 6% of the population at Harvard. And, of course, black professors are what, Faculty of Arts and Sciences, is about 18 of us out of 2,000. So if we're going to talk about grade inflation, I agree we need to fight it. We need to fight it across the board. I think President Summers would agree with that. It's just that in our first dialogue, it looked as if he was beginning to highlight me and black students, and he's of course acknowledged that he did not have that. Not at all.
You're tough?
Not at all. In my course, Afro-American Studies 10, we've got response papers. We got papers for short-term, midterm, final. 26 books to read. That's not a gut course, as has been put forward by some of these pundits around these days.
Dr. Summers also apparently took issue with your cutting a rap album.
Well, it's not a rap album. It is a high-quality album of music in which my voice speaks in the pocket and links to one of the richest traditions of the modern world, black music, to the struggle for freedom, going back to spiritual...
But what was President Summers' problem with that?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think he heard a note of the album, so he had very little to go on. You see, I think there's a sense in which so many persons, not simply him, they've been dependent on other persons' opinions without looking.
So you don't believe
at
that
the album itself.
You don't believe that Dr. Summers actually listened to your rap album?
I don't think so. I mean, he.
Well, that would have been. If I were there, I would have been teed off. If somebody had said to me, "Hey, we want you to do better scholarship, and this rap album's no good, and you didn't listen to it, that would have gotten me mad. Now, did the name...
But Bill, it's worse than that, because, I mean, this is true in terms of my work. It was unclear that he had even read one word of my text. Now, I don't mind critiques of my text, but so many people out there...
So he was generalizing to you, in your opinion?
He was generalizing without evidence.
All right.
But we've talked about this, and we now have a mutual respect, and I... All
right, but I don't have too much respect for Dr. Summers, because I've asked him to come on this program in the past, and he has declined to do that, and, you know, we'd like to get his...
If he declines across the board, it's not that bad, but if it's just you, then
No, he does, you know, he's a politician, and if he's got a bitch with you, he should get on and say to people, here's what my problem was with Dr. West, and get it out there. Now, did the name Al Sharpton come up when you talked to the president?
No names mentioned at all. It was simply references to candidates that certain people have trouble with. So it was implicit, not explicit.
All right, so you didn't say we don't like you supporting Al Sharpton.
I don't think it should have been raised at all.
No, I mean, you're an American, you can support who you want to support.
We all have a right to make fools
Absolutely.
of ourselves if we don't produce injurious harm now.
All right, now Jesse Jackson ran up there real fast. He's not a favorite of mine.
And, well, he's my dear brother, as you know, but we told Jesse to hold back, and he came anyway, and Jesse's Jesse. I love him dearly, but he's going to be himself. He is concerned about affirmative action. Affirmative action is a very, very delicate issue at the moment, as you know, with the University of Michigan case. But he did come, and it probably would have been better if he held back.
If he hadn't come, right. Because he polarizes everybody.
But Al Sharpton didn't listen and said, look, I'm going to hold back until you all feel as if it's best to come if we reach that point. Because we do want to be able to wrestle with these issues, mediated with respect, though.
Right, I
got
you. So Jackson came, Sharpton did not. Last question. You went to Princeton. You got your master's and your PhD. Princeton wants you. You going to jump over there? You're going to leave Harvard?
It's a great place. I don't know. I'm still trying to decide. Both Harvard and Princeton are great places. The crucial thing to keep in mind is that the Harvard tradition, Princeton tradition, the tradition of education in America, especially institutions of higher learning, are so much more important and more precious than any president, any faculty member, and any student. We've got to ensure we got the highest quality with diversity, hitting head-on those vicious legacies of white and male supremacy and the anti-Semitism that has been part and parcel of the past, so that the future is so much better.
All right, Doctor.
What came before. Thank you so very much.
Hey, listen. As I said in the beginning, you're a stand-up guy. You don't have to agree with you, and you don't demand that people agree with you. But you come in, you answer the questions. You're very articulate, and we respect you very much.
You try to be generous, but sometimes the reward for generosity is generosity itself. One's critics are not as generous oftentimes.
All right, Professor. Thanks very much. We appreciate it. Right. Next on the rundown, will the Senate Ethics Committee investigate Senator Robert Torricelli? And later, news women, should they be offended if people think they're sexy? Right back.
The bundt cake was bad.
The bundt cake was abysmal, but you're missing the point of the story. The entire staff has food poisoning, leaving packages to be shipped, deadlines to be met, and one sales manager to do it all.
Just one?
One.
You mean not the bundt cake?
He had the Danish. Stay with me. He jumps on FedEx.com. He's shipping. He's tracking. Getting confirmations on his cell phone. His pagers, PDA.
He's got a PDA?
Everybody's got a PDA. Nevertheless, packages arrive. He triumphs over adversity.
I don't have a PDA.
Check, please.
Make any resolutions this year?
I'm watching my figure.
Well, watch it get a little bigger, because you need 3 bowls of that to get the vitamin E in total.
There goes lunch.
Here's what you need for the zinc in total.
Ooh, I thought this was good for my diet.
Not if you want Total's calcium.
Can I change my resolution?
Only Total has 100% of 11 vitamins and minerals you need. No other leading cereal comes close.
I'll take the total. But you are going to help me clean this up, right?
Total Raisin Bran, Total Cornflakes. What are you getting for breakfast?
This year's resolution, to stay in touch with the compact Presario 5000 TPC. It comes with a powerful Intel Pentium 4 processor, a free scanner, and a whopping 512 megabytes of memory. More than enough to scan in all your photos and share them with everyone you'd like. It's just $8.99. So get started on that resolution not to procrastinate. Hurry and call 1-800-332-1780 to get yours now.
Jumpstart your new year with that kick in the... Jessica Alba turns up the heat.
Are you ready?
Oh, Dark Angel, an all-new episode, Fox Friday. The creators of That 70s Show return to a different time.
Where's your Lionel Richie section? Let me think. P-Q-R.
Introducing That 80s Show.
It's a portable phone!
Wednesday, January 23rd on Fox.
The Impact segment tonight, as we told you in the Talking Points memo, U.S. Attorney Mary Jo White has declined to bring charges against Senator Robert Torricelli and has turned a case over to the Senate Ethics Committee. Torricelli allegedly accepted expensive gifts from a South Korean businessman. On the Imus radio program, the senator denied that, said he never tried to help the businessman David Chang. But the former ambassador to South Korea, Stephen Bosworth, contradicts Torricelli, saying that the senator lobbied hard for Chang to get insurance contracts with the South Korean government. Ambassador Bosworth is out of the country, but joining us now from Washington is president of the watchdog group Common Cause, Scott Harshbarger. Is this another cover-up, whitewash, Janet Reno-esque, yeah, we're investigating, see you later?
Well, I think that there's a problem with determining what the actual evidence was in any particular case. I mean, I've been there. I know that you're damned if you do and damned if you don't in some of these cases. The evidence in this case, however, at least warrants a serious Senate Ethics Commission investigation. I think the difficulties that U.S. Attorney White may have had have to go to the quality of the witnesses here and the fact that a statute, the illegal gratuity statute, was actually struck down. So it's hard to determine, except that you do know that the allegations and the evidence that appears to be involved here at least warrant a serious ethics investigation.
But when has that ever happened, Mr. Harshbarger? There's never been a serious Senate ethics investigation. I mean, they chucked, what's his name, in Oregon out of there because they had 95 women coming up and saying that Senator Packwood was harassing them because he was drunk. They nailed him, but give me one other example of Senate policing themselves. They don't do it.
That's of course the great flaw, and that's what Common Cause is very concerned about. But we've got to push this system. We've got to show that there's a lack of enforcement and a lack of prosecution by independent counsel here.
All the time. All the time.
That's one of the reasons for the lack of both prosecution and the lack of deterrence at all here.
It's an outrage. It's so infuriating. There's nothing to stop Janet Reno or Mary Jo White for answering my questions or your questions or any American citizen's questions about what they learned in the investigation, correct?
Well, right now that's exactly the point. Although she did refer this evidence in the
what evidence? We don't even know.
Well, we don't know what the evidence is, but we do know there was a referral of evidence made available to the Senate Ethics Commission. And my view is, and frankly, this is on behalf of Senator Torricelli as well, Bill. If there's nothing to hide here, this is the best place in the world. Let it out. Let's determine whether there were gifts. Who's this friend that gave Rolex watches, handmade suits?
Right. But you've been around a long time. I mean, you and I go back to Massachusetts when you were... What is it that the people of the United States cannot get information from the Justice Department? The Justice Department we called late this afternoon and asked the Justice Department, did you interview Ambassador Bosworth of South Korea about the Torricelli? That's all we asked. Wouldn't tell us. Wouldn't tell us. It's an outrage. It's fascism. It is fascism. When you have the Justice Department of the United States supposedly protecting American citizens and refusing to answer any and all questions about corruption investigation. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're exactly right. I think there's a professional responsibility to not reveal, leak information. But let's be real clear. This is a double standard. When you're talking about white-collar crime and public corruption, we see far too often prosecutors not acting independently here and making decisions on the merits. But even more important, Bill, these are serious cases that warrant investigation and warrant telling people what the results are.
Exactly. Look,
I mean, the problem is we don't know what happened here.
A third-rate comedian in Los Angeles, her case is splattered all over the newspapers. You know Paula Poundstone,
yes, I do.
And they write all it. Everybody knows what the deal was out there. Prosecutors are laying the case. Here's what we have. Here's why we're doing what we're doing. No, that case, except for the poor little children involved, it's insignificant. Big corruption cases like the Mark Rich pardon, we can't get one iota of information from the Justice Department.
Well, let's make one thing clear, though, here, Bill. In terms of defending the prosecutors, haven't been there. I mean, I know you're damned if you do and damned if you don't as a prosecutor. These are not popular cases with the people who you're targeting because they don't think they're criminals.
But just bring us up to date.
They're used to a double standard.
You don't have to condemn or convict anybody, Mr. Harshbarger.
Right.
Just say we're still looking at the Rich pardon.
Yes.
We've got FBI guys on. So the American people knows where their taxpayer money is.
Well, I think that's a very legitimate point. The other point people ought to recognize, though, is that just like with campaign finance reform, the statutes that apply to corruption, federally and at state level, are the weakest statutes in the country. And it's not an accident. This has got to be looked at, Bill. The public has got to ask for enforcement.
They got to
for
demand
legitimate
it.
investigation.
All right. We got to run, Mr. Harshbarger. Thanks as always. We appreciate it. Next, the Bush administration has another major headache: Iran. Right back.
Troy, I know you got out for a reason. You're worried about getting hurt. But it's a year later. I really think it's time. If you don't get back in, you're going to regret it. Remember what I told you. Think mutual funds. Stay diversified.
Any tax implications? Wouldn't it be great if the person you trust most was your broker?
Is there a healthcare fund that looks attractive?
At Schwab, our mutual fund advice is always objective, uncomplicated, and not driven by commission. Call 1-800-4-NO-LOAD to find out which fund is right for you.
If you've been in an accident, you know what a hassle it is. That's where we come in. With Leif's, everything becomes very simple. From Salem to Longview, we make house calls. We'll give you an estimate, pick up your car, negotiate your claim, repair your vehicle back to pre-loss condition, and get it back to you, all without costing you extra. You've got my word on it.
Leif's Auto Collision Centers, the finest in collision repair.
This tastes like an experience you've never had.
It's like I know them. Pure perfection.
Yeah, it's like they're my family or something.
Friends, brothers, you know, these guys are amazing.
They're like totally off the charts. Thanks for coming out, you guys, but you know you could have just called.
The coolest thing in the world is when a company and its people actually do what they promise. Amica Insurance. Auto, home, life, integrity. Rated #1 by consumers.
I love these guys.
The Unresolved Problem segment tonight. While many in Washington feel that President Bush has Saddam Hussein in his sights in the war on terrorism, damning evidence has been uncovered about Iran. Last Thursday, a ship carrying 50 tons of weapons was seized by the Israelis in the Red Sea. The weapons had Farsi markings, and the captured Palestinians on board say that Iran and the terrorist organization Hezbollah were sending the weapons to Yasser Arafat's Palestinian Authority. Joining us now from Philadelphia is Daniel Pipes, the director of the Middle East Forum and a former State Department official. You know, Mr. Pipes, no offense to you, but we wanted to get the spokesman for the PLO on to, you know, put this question to him. He's been on a number of times on the factor, and he disappeared. This is evidence. You know, most Americans, I don't think they're following this story very closely, but this is unbelievable, isn't it?
It is incredible, and believe me, if I were the PLO representative, I would have run for the hills too.
Yeah, and they are. But there's no question Iran is fomenting terrorism, particularly against Israel. What should the United States do?
Let's step back a minute. What the United States has done since September 11th, and done very impressively, I might add, is to say that we have seen that militant Islam is our strategic, long-term, complicated enemy. And we're going to target it. We're going to defeat it in Afghanistan. We're going to defeat it in the Philippines. We're going to defeat it in the Palestinian Authority. We're going to defeat it in Saudi Arabia. We're going to defeat it at home. And in that context, Iran has a very important role, because Iran is, after all, the first and most important state that's under the thumb of militant Islam.
Yeah, but Iran is different than the Philippines, it's different than Saudi Arabia, and certainly different than the Palestinians. Iran's a strong nation. I mean, they have a big military. They have support, particularly from the Russians, sophisticated weapon systems. And to go in there with any kind of military action is almost catastrophic at this point, is it not?
Right. When I said we have a war on militant Islam, I didn't mean that war is everywhere going to be a military war. It will be a legal war, a diplomatic war, a religious undertaking, in cultural, has many different aspects. And in the case of Iran, what it clearly means is that we have to re-understand that Islam is determined long-term enemy of the United States. They've been fairly quiet And it seemed like it's not such a bad
No, look, everybody, any sane American knows that Islamic fundamentalism is the enemy of the United States. Now, what would you do to Iran? Say you're President Bush. What's your strategy?
What I would do is build up a reputation, as I have done the last 4 months, that I am tough, I am determined, and I would then turn to the Iranians and say, I want a change in behavior, or else.
Or else what?
Or else we will take steps that will be unpleasant for you.
Like what?
Well, we can, for example, start supporting the opposition. We have been very careful not to get anywhere near the Iranian opposition.
What kind of opposition do they have? They have the Shah's son in the United States running around, but they don't have much opposition over in Iran.
Well, one of the things we've learned over the years is that opposition forces that don't seem very impressive become very impressive when the United States backs them. Need I point out the Northern Alliance? Just 3 or 4 months ago,
No,
it
that's
looked
true.
like
But remember, the Northern Alliance wouldn't have gone bupkis unless we sent in the bombers to break the Taliban spirit.
Well,
now, it doesn't seem to me that there's any structure inside Iran right now that threatens the mullahs at all.
We don't have to be sending over the B-52s in order to have an impact. Whether it be Iraq or Iran, we can take the opposition, which I agree with you at this point is not a very powerful force. We can give it our support, be it financial or military, diplomatic, and things will start to happen. That's one thing we can do. Another thing we can do is to tighten up the vice we have on Iranian exports of various sorts. We can watch for the import of arms. We can pay a whole lot more
How about a
attention.
naval blockade? Because that's an easy country to blockade.
Exactly. You can't get to Iran basically except for a few ports.
Right.
There are a lot of things that we can
So you
do.
could threaten them with that. Look, we catch you again shipping arms out to anybody that's going to use them for terrorist purposes, we're going to blockade you.
Bill, the really important thing is that for 20 years, since the time of Ayatollah Khomeini, we were taking hit after hit from the Iranians and from other militant Islamic groups and states. What we've done in the last 4 months is finally said we've had it. We've got enough, and we're going to start protecting ourselves, standing by our friends, and attacking, intimidating our enemies.
Okay,
That's
Mr.
the key
Rogers.
point.
Yep, I agree with you. I think we have to do that. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. The hockey father on trial for manslaughter gives his side of the story. And news women, should they be offended if some people think they're sexy? Hope you stay tuned.
You can slow down investing. You can stop investing entirely.
There was one man who had a funny hat.
But you can't stop curious toddlers from one day becoming college freshmen.
And there was a small man that someone put him in a bird cage.
Which is why your Morgan Stanley financial advisor will never let you lose sight of what you're investing for.
And
the couch. When you've got the flu, it's so far away. Get there with Advil Flu and Body Ache. It's got the strength of Advil, so nothing works harder on body aches, headaches, and fever. Plus a powerful decongestant. It makes having the flu a lot more comfortable. Fight the flu with Advil Flu and Body Ache.
Here's juicy news from Robitussin. We've added real natural orange juice to a soothing vitamin C throat drop. New Sunny Orange Vitamin C drops from Robitussin.
When apartheid stood in our path,
we overcame it to build our own future.
Now AIDS threatens South Africa's future.
Half of all children under 15 will die
unless something is done.
So we are doing it. We call it Love Life.
It's about love.
It's about health. And it's about life.
You can help fight AIDS in South Africa. To find out how, go to netaid.org.
People say our show is warmer. It means we're real people, and it shows.
We talk to you, we talk with you. It's a conversation. It's not a lecture.
It's the smart way to start your day.
We take the news seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously.
The show is warmer, younger, and smarter, and I think that people get that sense when they watch.
Tonight, coming clean on the dishwasher, the government puts a popular household appliance to the test and doesn't like what it sees. Tonight on Special Report with Britt Hume.
The personal story segment tonight, testimony from Thomas Junta, the Massachusetts man charged with killing another father at a hockey game in which their sons were playing. Junta is on trial for manslaughter and said this today.
As soon as we hit the floor, he started pulling his knees up, trying to knee me, and trying to get his feet like up on my shoulder area, and then he started hitting me.
Okay. What, if anything, were you doing? Were you trying to block any of his
hands or feet?
I only had one hand because he had my left wrist in his left hand.
So he was holding your left wrist?
Yes.
With his left hand?
Yes.
Okay. And what was he doing with his right hand?
Well, I tried to pull my hand a couple quick times, and each time I did, he tried to throw a punch in my face.
And joining us now from Boston is Wendy Murphy, a law professor who's covering the trial for the local Fox affiliate in Boston, Channel 25. Counselor, I'm going to put you on the jury. Step out of your role as an attorney for a moment. And you're listening to Mr. Junta. He's on a stand, what, about an hour and a half?
He was on for a couple of hours, that's right.
And what was your impression of him?
Well, I have to tell you, Bill, I was surprised that I actually found him a little bit likable because I didn't like him at all from the moment I heard about this crime until today. And I'm not saying I did like him today, but I thought he came across as likable. And I think the jury saw him that way. They were staring intently at him. And frankly, I thought the most touching moments were, and the thing that made me like him the most, was that when he appeared almost ready to cry, he held back. I very much expected him to cry on purpose and to sound contrived about his emotions and to come across as putting it on for the jury and for me. But he didn't. He held back. And I think that went over well for the jury. I know it went over well for me.
All right. Was his testimony credible in the sense that we've heard the prosecution's case saying it was a brutal beating? The man he beat, Costin, hemorrhaged, and it was brutal. Was his testimony that he was only acting in self-defense credible in your opinion?
Well, you know, it's a technical legal matter. There's no way his testimony saved the day for him today because the law in Massachusetts, as in most states, requires people to retreat before they hit, whether they hit with deadly force or gentle force. They have to walk away if at all possible. And we know he had the chance to walk away because he was asked to leave and he came back in.
But he says he came back in for a specific reason and that he was attacked when he came back in. Is that...
Well, you know, the testimony has been equivocal about that, and still the question will be, even when you were attacked, did you have a chance to walk away? And I think the obvious answer is, of course you did. This was a man 100 pounds lighter than him. You know, he could have simply said, I'm leaving, and walked away, but he didn't. And he punched him, Bill, so many times, almost taking his head off. I'm not sure the jury will believe that he didn't have a chance to walk away, which is what he suggested today.
Did the prosecution point out that he had a violent history at all? Was there any other things introduced in the court that showed that Junta was a guy who would lose his temper and go out of control?
No, to the contrary. I think the defense got some gratuitous points in today about that and really asked him basically, are you a good guy who's never done this before? And in many different ways he was able to convey that this was unusual for him and that he had a moment, once-in-a-lifetime moment that he was very regretful about.
All right. Now, the man he hit, Costin, did have a criminal record, correct? Has that been made an issue of?
No. In fact, much of the victim's past, though it's made its way into the media, did not make its way into the courtroom, and that's okay, because in a self-defense case, the only thing that matters is what did the defendant know about the victim at the time he was beating him? Did he know that that Mr. Costin had a violent history or troubles in the past? And unless he knew, then it doesn't matter because only Mr. Junta's state of mind is important.
All right, but the other thing for the jury to weigh is maybe Junta was acting in self-defense. Maybe this guy was a bad guy.
Well, but you don't, just because you're a bad guy doesn't mean you deserve to be punched to your death.
No, I know that. I know that. I'm just trying to get the psychological profile. We only have 1 minute left. Mr. Junta's son, he's 12 now, he's 10 at the time of the incident, testified. Will his testimony, in your opinion, help his father?
Well, it helps him in a theatrical sense, Bill. I don't think it helps him in a technical sense because the evidence is what it is, and it's very strong from a medical perspective. But when Quinlan testified yesterday, I thought that that was the beginning of the best case the defense could put on because there was a great deal of emotion. I think the jury got to see a little boy who was terrified, who was trying really hard to do a good job for his dad, and who was very much afraid, both at the time of the incident and sitting there in the courtroom.
All right. Counsel, the verdict will come in this week probably, and we'll have you back, and thanks very much. We appreciate it. Next, sexism in TV news. How bad is it? We'll find out when we come back.
Fox News Live, I'm Kiran Chetri. Pakistan is considered a U.S. ally in the war on terror, and now that nation is coming under increasing pressure from the U.S. and other countries to make peace with its nuclear neighbor, India. Adam Housley has more from Islamabad.
It's after midnight here in Pakistan, and we're not expecting to hear anything from Pakistani leaders about the KC-130 crash site until sometime after daybreak. In the meantime, President Musharraf continues to prepare for his upcoming speech, one we won't hear until at least Saturday at the earliest. Now, a little controversy surrounding that speech after a press conference here in Islamabad from 9 senators. Senior Pakistani leaders are claiming comments made by Senator Joe Lieberman has raised expectations on the Pakistani president to either unveil a new policy with India or make more concessions. 3 more members of Congress also in town. Congressman Frank Wolf of Virginia, also Tony Hall of Ohio, and Joe Pitts of Pennsylvania. They met with President Musharraf and expressed serious concerns over the situation between India and Pakistan, but at the same time, they also provided support for Pakistan and their current help with the war on terrorism. India leaders are claiming to have taken shots at an unmanned Pakistani spy plane in the Kashmir region over India. This comes only days after claiming they shot the same type of plane out of the sky. So far, there's been no proof of either incident. In Islamabad, Adam Housley, Fox News.
Our next update is coming up for you at the top of the hour. The O'Reilly Factor continues.
The new 255 horsepower Infiniti i35 with the most powerful engine in its class. Don't blink. More power, more grace, more I. The new i35 from Infiniti. Plastic holds the promise of a better world, taking medicine to new heights and giving our lives greater comfort. It's in the packaging that protects us and a pacemaker to empower us, every day touching every generation. From the ambulance to the emergency room, it puts the answers in our hands and hope in our hearts. For a safer, more brilliant tomorrow, plastics make it possible.
It seems like only yesterday. When I started skating at 8 years old, I never thought I'd experience the thrill of winning a medal. With all the great memories has come another thing I thought I'd never experience, the pain of osteoarthritis.
Vioxx is here, a prescription medicine for osteoarthritis pain. With one little pill a day, Vioxx can provide powerful 24-hour relief. Vioxx specifically targets only the COX-2 enzyme, a key source of arthritis pain. People with allergic reactions such as asthma to aspirin or other arthritis medicines should not take Vioxx. In rare cases, serious stomach problems such as bleeding can occur without warning. Tell your doctor if you have liver or kidney problems. For more information, talk to your doctor about once daily Vioxx for the relief of osteoarthritis pain.
Perhaps my biggest victory is to be able to plan my day around my life instead of my pain.
Ask your doctor if Vioxx is right for you. Vioxx for everyday victories.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly. In the Factor follow-up segment tonight, sexism in TV news. The media went wild with the Paula Zahn CNN advertisement saying she's sexy, as you know. CNN pulled the ad, and Paula didn't like that sexy label one bit. I think the whole thing is ridiculous, but joining us now, maybe 2 more rational thinkers. First from Los Angeles, Tammy Bruce, the author of The New Thought Police, as the book. And from Washington, do we have Laura Ingraham seated yet? She's a syndicated radio talk show. She's not. She'll be with us in a second. We'll start with you, Ms. Bruce.
Great. Hi there.
All right. Paula Zahn, offended, fear, loathing, angst, crying, screaming, pulling the ad. What do you think?
Well, you know, the one good sign is that this is not so common that it was accepted, that it was seen as being an anomaly and something that was, for the most part, unnecessary, because Paula Zahn is obviously attractive. The problem that I see it, and that I explain in my book in general, is that I believe individuals should have the opportunity to identify themselves, to have their own ideas, and when that promo stamped the word sexy in red over her head, Big Brother, essentially, for her, took away her chance, her opportunity to define herself with her audience. I think it was degrading.
Wait, Miss Bruce, the woman has 2 hours every day to establish a reputation on national television with her audience.
Sure.
Because some pinhead says, we think she's sexy. I mean, that's not going to... This whole thing to me this is phony. This is phony. If somebody said to me, hey, O'Reilly... What?
Well, she spent 20 years obviously establishing herself as a credible journalist, but what we know And the reason
You
why
can be a credible journalist and sexy. I mean, I prove that every night here.
Of course you can. Well, you know, I know people, Bill, some women who believe that you're very sexy.
I know, and they're few and far between, but they're right, and that's what's important.
But here's the issue, is that promos have an impact. They're meant to have an influence on the way someone's viewed. And I think this could be said as coming directly because of the person who's programming there. Comes from, I think, the WB network, and they're used to programming things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
But they have a frog doing it.
And so now
it's
you've
all
got,
different
you know,
thing.
is this entertainment or is it serious news?
I just don't think that sexy in journalism, I mean, it's so what? It doesn't have any impact. Laura, what do you think?
But if it was beneficial, everyone would be doing it, and you're not doing it.
No, that's because it's not politically correct, Miss Bruce. Miss Bruce.
Let me get in here.
Miss Bruce, that's because it's not politically correct to do it. That's why it's not done.
Because it's not a...
No, let Laura get in.
Let's get back to reality here. The reality is news has turned into entertainment. Bill, you know, with the exception of you, maybe, you know, no, I'm just kidding. The news has turned into entertainment. Morning news is all about tone, it's all about look, it's all about style, and it's about substance, too. Nobody thinks differently of Paula Zahn after that mistaken ad ran over the weekend. I can see why she's irritated. I'd be irritated, too.
Why? Why would you be, wait a minute, Laura, why would you be irritated?
Because even though looks obviously do matter, they don't say sexy about Bill O'Reilly. They don't say sexy about Sean Hannity. They don't say sexy about Brian Williams. They don't say sexy about Shepard Smith, do they?
But look, if they did, none of those guys, I wouldn't say a word.
Yes, they would. Oh, please.
I would make a joke out of it.
You have a great sense of humor.
I would make a joke out of it.
You would make a joke.
But because I don't see it as attacking my fundamental skill as a journalist.
Bill,
All right, no, wait a minute. Let's not talk over each other, ladies. That's always, you know.
Something here.
You go ahead, Miss Bruce. Go ahead.
It also comes down to some degree about values. It's about how do we want women to be viewed in general, and how do we want, especially in the serious business of news, which CNN is supposed to be in, how they want their women, their staff to be viewed. And if they think this way of their own staff in a degrading manner, you can imagine
Why is it degrading, though, Miss Bruce? I'm not getting the degrading
because
business.
it's not degrading. What's not reported.
Wait, Miss Bruce. Why is it degrading, Miss Bruce?
What we don't hear reported a great deal is also in that promo, but when that word sexy was stamped in red over her head, was the sound of a zipper.
I didn't hear
any
zipper.
Now, if that's not meant to objectify
I didn't hear any
her,
zipper.
I don't know what is.
All right, but I didn't hear any zipper. Did you hear a zipper in there, Laura?
Who cares if there was a zipper or not?
Right. I didn't hear any zipper.
It was a mistaken... Let me finish.
Go ahead, Laura.
It was a mistaken ad. The ad obviously was not something, I don't think, that the CNN hierarchy said, oh, this is a great idea. However, the bottom line is the news is about entertainment today. And unfortunately, substance isn't all that carries the day. We have good-looking people in all aspects of news gathering today. That is a fact. It might not be a fact that we all love, but it is a fact. No one thinks differently of Paula Zahn because of the ad that ran. I think if I were Paula, I would have made a joke about the entire thing. I would have came in the next day.
All right, Miss Bruce, let's go to Miss Bruce.
You're the one who's sexy.
Let's go to Miss Bruce. Now, Miss Bruce, you actually think... Wait a minute, Miss Bruce. Let me ask the question.
If it didn't get stopped,
Miss Bruce, let me ask the question. Let me ask the question.
Yes.
You actually think that there are Americans who think less of Paula Zahn because some publicist said she's sexy? Come on.
Promos are used for a reason because they influence the way we view the programming we're going to be watching. If they didn't have an impact, they wouldn't be used. That's why they're important. People pay millions of dollars to get 30 seconds to be in front of America. That promotion was meant to have an impact, and they do have impact.
Yeah, it was meant to get guys to watch Paula Zahn. It was meant to get guys to watch Paula.
For a certain reason, not because she's going to give them...
They don't care why. They don't care why people watch.
Paula Zahn does care.
Why? No, wait. No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. And I'm flat out. I know Paula Zahn. She worked here for 2 years. Paula Zahn wants people to watch her. She doesn't care whether they think she's sexy, whether they think she's a Methodist, whether they think she's a red Chinese. All Paula Zahn wants is eyeballs so she gets high ratings. That's all any of us want.
Right. If people didn't care about the way they looked on television, we wouldn't have ads, full-page ads running in newspapers with personalities. of news organizations. Personalities are what sell.
It's more than that. We survive.
But why do we have to market women in that way and not men?
You can market men that way.
That's the question that has to be asked.
I want my promo department to market me that way, okay? They just can't lie that much.
Yeah, you wish, Bill.
Now, listen,
it's not going to happen.
You guys got to understand.
Dan Rather has said that he would want to be viewed as sexy. Obviously, the thing that Dan Rather should want to be viewed as
he's on his last leg.
wishes.
Of course he wants to go out that way.
Well, he needs to be viewed as credible and unbiased. I mean, sexy is the least
No, he
of the
doesn't.
issues.
It's a tempest in a teapot. Women have got to start caring about issues that really matter, like tax reform. Not about whether or not they're called sexy.
Which is why that promo is harmful.
I'm going to have the last word here. I'm going to school you ladies in the facts of life, okay? On television news, on the national and local level, the only thing that matters is ratings. If you don't get the ratings, you're going to be off the air. If you're the most brilliant journalist in the world, it doesn't matter. Now, if you can market somebody or get somebody who can pull people in, Katie Couric is a great example of this, who they like her, she's kind of sexy in a clean-cut way, and she wins. It has nothing to do with anything else. And for Paula or me or anybody to say, oh, I'm offended by that, it's baloney. You need the ratings. And that's why we have you ladies on tonight. Thank you very much for appearing. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Thanks,
we
Laura.
come back. Are you depressed after that diatribe? I guess that's not possible watching The Factor, but otherwise millions of Americans are depressed. We'll find out why in just a few moments.
David Lee Miller. Great mouth hat.
Amy Kellogg.
William Larsonet. Pete Harrigan. Internet.
In the past decade, Malibu Boats has won 9 Boat of the Year awards and 2 Outstanding Workmanship awards. You are about to experience some of the reasons why.
Hayden Island Yacht Center, celebrating 10 years of representing Malibu ski boats. Ask for Jerry at the Malibu booth in the Portland Boat Show, January 5th through 13th.
I'm Leif Hampton. If you've been in an accident, you know what a hassle it is. That's where we come in. With Leif's, everything becomes very simple. From Salem to Longview, we make house calls. We'll give you an estimate, pick up your car, negotiate your claim, repair your vehicle back to pre-loss condition, and get it back to you, all without costing you extra. You've got my word on it.
Leif's Auto Collision Centers, the finest in collision repair.
How can VHIX.com help you decide on what vehicle to buy? With smart, thorough, unbiased, up-to-date research. And if you're trying to decide between a couple of different vehicles, at VHIX.com, you can compare them. Side by side, head to head, feature by feature, option by option, dollar for dollar. Try the side-by-side comparison at VHIX.com. It's your roadmap to the automotive world.
AT&T Broadband.
Pay-per-view.
The toughest full-contact event in sports is back as the Ultimate Fighting Championship presents UFC Throwdown. 2 belts are on the line as Jens Pulver takes on BJ Penn and Dave Manet battles Murilo Bustamante. Plus, a full night of action in the Octagon. Let's get it on! UFC Throwdown, Friday, January 11th. Call AT&T Broadband now to order the brawl on in-demand pay-per-view.
In the back of the book segment tonight, a new study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association says that the number of Americans taking antidepressants has doubled in the 1990s, and those were boom years economically. Joining us now from Washington is Dr. Peter Breggin, the director of the Center for the Study of Psychiatry and Psychology, and the author of the book, The Anti-Depression Fact Book. Okay, doctor. Now, is this a racket, this antidepressant thing?
Well, I think in many ways, unfortunately, it is. You know, we have this huge advertising campaign going on to sell depression to the American public. We have Prozac and Paxil and all of these drugs advertising. The government does campaigns. Depression Awareness Week, that's a selling campaign. And the managed care companies would like us not to be doing counseling. They would like exactly what's happening, a shift to using drugs more and more, and even to having more GPs and family docs giving out.
So you're saying that might be psychosomatic, that all this advertising might be convincing people they're depressed. Tell me about these drugs.
Well, the people are sad, Bill. People get sad and people get unhappy.
Sure, but that's just life. That's life. Everybody gets depressed. But tell me about these drugs. I've never taken a drug in my life. It's against my code. I'm not going to take any drugs. Right. I don't care how depressed my job makes me or anything else. I'm not taking them. Prozac. What is Prozac? If I take Prozac tonight, what's going to happen to me?
Well, it's very unpredictable. It's going to take your brain, which is in a normal biochemical imbalance, and make it very abnormal. It's going to jack up one of the neurotransmitter systems called serotonin. The effects can be rather rapid, the bad effects, which a lot of doctors don't know, and you could very quickly develop anxiety or some agitation. You could have a feeling that your body is
But why do so many people like this drug? Doesn't it make them feel good?
Eventually, over a period of weeks, the drug will sometimes make people emotionally numb. It'll sometimes make them feel artificially better. But it isn't going to get to the heart of what depression's about, which is it's a human experience that has reasons behind it.
All right, I got you. But what you're pushing is you want people to come in and get counseled at $150 an hour.
No, not necessarily. You know, even therapy is in many ways questionable because it depends so much on who you're going to.
I know a lot of charlatan therapists.
Oh, yeah.
But let's stay on the drugs for a moment.
But
now, there are other drugs.
There's
one other drug, and I forget the name of it. I should know. A lot of people take it.
Well, Paxil, Prozac, Zoloft, Celexa, Luvox.
Yeah, don't these make you high and kind of float around a little bit?
They can. For some people, make them euphoric. But worse than that, Bill, they can make them manic or depressed. I just have finished with a case that was resolved of a man who got so out of control that he drowned his 2 children and himself in a bathtub.
Doc,
very much like Andrea Yates.
If 6.3 million people, Americans, are taking antidepressants right now, 6.3 million Americans are taking them. These drugs got to be attractive to these people. They got to make them feel better, no?
Well, not necessarily. Probably half or more stop after the first prescription that they get because they have so many adverse effects. Other people take them and you talk to them and they say that they think maybe they're better, but they're not sure. The doctor says they have to be on them. There's so much hype. And depression responds to any kind of hope or encouragement. Because they'll think of what is depression. It's hopelessness. It's despair. So you're taking a medication, you're hoping it's doing better. But if you look at the real studies, it's hardly any better than a sugar pill and much more dangerous.
Right.
The science isn't
as we
good.
said at the beginning of this interview, everybody gets depressed. Part of life. Part of the life cycle, all right?
Yes.
How do you know when you have a medical problem?
Well, I differ from the central position in psychiatry right now, but I don't think it should be viewed as a medical problem. Now, if you're suicidal and you want to die and you can't get out of bed, you have a very serious emotional, spiritual crisis going on that could be handled in many ways that I think are better than adding a problem to your brain. There's religion, there's spiritual counseling, there's psychological, there's family, there's finding a new way, a new meaning in life. It's really about life, and we are changing it into something about biochemistry without having the scientific basis for that.
Okay, but there are many, many people in this country that have depression, and it is an illness.
Yes.
I mean, Mike Wallace talked about it. And apparently he took drugs that's kind of leveled him out, and he was able to, have a terrific career and continue to do what he does. So how do you know when yours is a legitimate illness or yours is just,
Bill,
an instability that you can deal with, as you said, in a spiritual way or another way?
I think it's in the eye of the beholder and of the prescriber. Simply because somebody becomes especially unhappy or despairing doesn't mean it becomes an illness. Bill, there's something else I need to add, which is stopping these drugs is dangerous, too. So I don't want people in your audience running out and stopping them. I've seen a number of cases where people have stopped the new drugs abruptly, like Paxil. They've gotten violent, they've gotten agitated. So I don't want people running out and abruptly stopping.
I just think it's one of the most complicated conditions that a person can have because it's a subjective condition.
It's absolutely a subjective condition. It's
and
the
you
only
got the
thing
drugs
we know about it.
A lot of these drugs make you feel good and all of that. All right, Doctor, thanks for your expertise. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, we'll wrap things up. The most ridiculous item of the day and some in your mouth.
What's the matter?
Brother Bob.
All this paperwork from my mortgage broker is driving me crazy.
Perhaps you should log on to Ditech.com.
Hey, I need a home loan, not a website.
Ditech.com is one of the largest direct lenders in the mortgage industry.
What about the rates?
Here's today's low fixed rate with 0 points.
Oh. Can I use the mouse?
Be my guest. Ditech.com, the smart money solution. Call 1-800-71-FIX.
Sure, the holidays are over, but it's not too late to open one of these. The compact Presario 1700T notebook. It's got hot swappable drives and the incredibly fast mobile Intel Pentium 3 Processor M for just $13.49. Plus, we'll give you a carrying case and an extra battery free. So give yourself one last holiday present to open before this deal closes. Call 1-888-271-1430 to get yours now.
These are just a few of the lives touched by the National Marrow Donor Program. People who had a life-threatening disease like leukemia, which could only be treated by a marrow, blood stem cell, or cord blood transplant. By searching the National Marrow Donor Program's registry, they were matched with someone willing to donate the marrow they needed to live. If you've been told an unrelated transplant is a treatment option, call the National Marrow Donor Program at 1-800-MARROW2 or go to marrow.org.
Tonight, coming clean on the dishwasher, the government puts a popular household appliance to the test and doesn't like what it sees. Tonight on Special Report with Britt Hume.
Tonight, I'm Neil Cavuto, and this is Your World.
When you want to get up on Wall Street, get down to business with Neil Cavuto.
What does it mean for the economy?
Why bet your bottom dollar when you can cash in with his common sense approach? Your World with Neil Cavuto.
We have got you covered.
The best business report on television, period.
Time now for the most ridiculous item of the day. Hot on the heels of Sex and the City, HBO will air a program called Monica in black and white on March 3rd. Yes, that Monica Lewinsky will finally talk about her ordeal with Mr. Clinton. HBO says Ms. Lewinsky will also do some press promoting the special. We, of course, would love to have her here on The Factor, but the odds of that happening are probably ridiculous. Finally, tonight, the mail, tons of it as usual. Jack Harms, Rockford, Illinois. O'Reilly, you are a pinhead if you really think the FBI, CIA, and airport security can be fixed overnight. Bush can shout orders all day long, but nothing will get done as long as the Republicans are afraid to challenge Daschle and the Democrats. I didn't see you rocking these boats when Clinton was president, and it's sad to see you going over to the other side. Well, Mr. Harms, with all due respect, you are a prisoner to your right-wing ideology. Nobody was tougher on Mr. Clinton than me, and that's well documented. But I am on the side of the American people, and when government agencies are not performing well, they will be scrutinized no matter who is in the White House. Dave Cunningham, Pennsville, New Jersey. Bill, you have the gall to try to pin the blame on Clinton for the CIA's problems? The truth is the Bush White House has completely failed in the pursuit of bin Laden. Mr. Cunningham, with all due respect, you are a prisoner of your left-wing ideology. President Clinton did enormous harm to the CIA by ordering the Torricelli principle into action. The jury is still out as to whether Mr. Bush and his CIA Director George Tenet are skilled enough to fix things. Joan, I'm withholding her last name, Arizona. Bill, my husband has been an FBI agent for 22 years, and on the morning of 9/11, he stood in front of the TV repeating over and over, they wouldn't let us do our jobs. You and I both know who they are. Yes, we do, Joan. They are the Janet Renos and Louis Freehs of the world, the political appointees who put their careers over problem-solving and law enforcement, timid mediocrities who destroy the morale of the real pros. But those who appoint these people are responsible as well. Dave Drum, Orlando, Florida. Bill, so sorry to hear about your loss in Enron stock. You seem to advocate personal responsibility, except in the stock market. Anyone buying Enron had free access to all relevant information. Absolutely false, Mr. Drum. Arthur Anderson, Enron's accounting firm, repeatedly misled stockholders and the press. Carl Bexton, Sayreville, New Jersey. O'Reilly, good job. Terry Keening's opinion that financial pros should not be held accountable for their advice is deplorable, and you let her know it. Dennis Taylor, Midland, Michigan. Terry Keening was right on the money. You should be blaming your advisor, Bill, not Enron. I'm blaming them both, Mr. Taylor. Bill Tickle, Calhoun, Tennessee. Bill, were you forced to buy Enron? Oh, stop it, Mr. Tickle. Fraud is fraud, okay? I looked over Enron's public statements for the past year, and nowhere was it mentioned that their internal investments were tanking. Nowhere. All the projections were for spectacular growth. Enron, in my opinion, is guilty of massive fraud, and we've just learned the Justice Department is investigating Enron. Greg Turner, Lexington, South Carolina. Bill, there is a fine line between being provocative and arrogant. Tone it down. No chance, Mr. Turner. In fact, with all the corruption floating around, we're going to ramp it up. And how about that website? www.foxnews.com/O'Reilly. WorldNetDaily.com. We have my column. Last night it's on, and it is about the Justice Department. I've been railing about this, but it's very, very serious. If you want to check that out, Factor Gear, sign books, all of that on the website, okay? And how about emailing us with some pithy comments? O'Reilly@foxnews.com. O'Reilly@foxnews.com. Plenty of stuff to write about in this program this evening. Name in town, please, if you wish to opine. That is it for us today. As always, we thank you for watching The Factor. I'm Bill O'Reilly, and we hope to see you next time.